Hello and welcome back. I realized that the video stopped recording after a little while, so I have to start problem 1 over again. So if I'm doing this a little bit speedy, it's just because I know I have a class coming in 15 minutes. So this first one is at x equals -4. And the question is asking us which of the following could be the equation of the graph shown. So when we see x equals -4 as a crossing point, we need to know that x plus 4 would be the factor. Now, x equals 0 is going to turn into just an x in the factoring. And this x minus 3 is representing the x equals 3. Now, this one is bouncing, so we're going to make sure that we write a squared on this one. Okay, so when we look at y equals our equation, x times x plus 4 and x minus 3 squared, you're noticing that there's really only one that has an x minus 3 squared, and it is right here. So the fact that there's a 1/5 in all those answers is actually irrelevant, because you're really just making sure that your x plus 4 matches, your x minus 3 squared matches, and your x matches, and they do for that one. So number 1 is answer C. Now, number 2 is talking about the concept of distinct x-intercepts. And so that means that if you see an x value and then you see it repeat, you still only count it as one distinct x-intercept. So this 2x creates x equals 0. This x minus 3 creates x equals 3. And there is another one. So technically there's a multiplicity of 2 for x equals 3, and there's a multiplicity of 1 for x equals 0. The next x value would be x equals -3, and there was only one of those factors, so multiplicity of 1. And x equals -5 is only appearing once, so we would say that has a multiplicity of 1 as well. So altogether we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different x values, but this one is sort of like a double. So we would say that there are 5 total x values, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but there are only 4 distinct zeros or x values. Okay, so 4 distinct, and your answer would be 4. Now, with this number 3, you are allowed to use Desmos. So I want to show you how you should use Desmos to solve this. Okay, so I just turned my microphone around, and if the sound is a little bit different, sorry about that. But we are going to go over to Desmos, and we're going to plug these two functions in. So x minus y equals 1. And then we also have x plus y equals x squared minus 5. So you can see that this function does have 2 crossing points. It's got 3.23607, and it's got -1.23607. Now, if we look over here, those are not x values that we are given. We aren't giving anything in decimals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting these numbers into my Desmos calculator, and I'm going to see what they are equal to. So option A says the x value is 1 plus the square root of 5. And if you press SQRT, it turns it into a square root. And you can see that 3.236 is equal to 1 plus the square root of 5. So I recognize that there is actually an x value that shares that. And looking at all the other x values, we see that there's one more that has that. And it shows right down here. So I know that that is not an x value. And I also know that this is not an x value. So now I need to figure out, is the y value positive root 5 or is it negative root 5? So we go back over to Desmos and we see 2.32607. That's the same exact that's the same y value. So let's see. The square root of 5 is 2 0.23. So that one right there is an x value of 1 plus the square root of 5, and the y value is the square root of 5. So your best answer is option C. So C is your option, and we're going to move over. Okay, so this problem number 4 says, which of the following are factors of this expression? And we have a totally big list of factors. So I'm going to grab my Desmos window, and I'm going to put that equation into Desmos. So I'm going to write x to the 4th minus 23x squared plus 18x and plus 40. And what we notice is that we have x equals -5, x equals -1, x equals 2, and x equals 4. So -5, -1, 2, and 4 are the x values that we know. -5, -1, 2, and 4. So x equals -5, x equals -1, x equals 2, and x equals 4. So we need to take all those x values and we need to look for the factors that would have created them. So x plus 5 would be right here. We need to choose this one. X minus 2 would create x equals 2, so we need this one. X plus 1 would be this one, so we need this one over here. And then last but not least, we have x minus 4, and that would be right here. So those 4 are going to be the factors, and you got to use Desmos on that question because it will make the question so much easier. Okay? All right, next one. This is a box method question. So you know that 2 of the factors have created x to the 4th plus x squared minus 20. And you're going to notice that I didn't write the x squared because I know that has to come from these 2 boxes. So what we need to do there is analyze our options. You see that all the factors start with x squared. So that means that we have to have x squared outside of our box for both of those missing factors. But we're looking for 2 numbers that are going to add up to 1, okay? A positive 1. And so I start looking at these numbers over here, and I see 4 and I see -5. Now, 4 and -5 would not create positive 1, so that's not the right combo. If I did 10 plus -2, we get positive 8, and that is not equal to our positive 1. So remember, we have positive 1x squareds. So then I come over to plus 5 and -4. And if I did plus 5 and -4, that is a positive 1. So this means that this would have to be 1x squared. Sorry, nope, that's the final total. Have to be 5x squared and -4x squared. And that would add up to be positive. So answer is C for that one. Okay. Now, this is technically question 6. And it is the last one on the review. So it says, given the equation, D and G were the old parts of the problem. So given the equation, these are going to be your factors. X equals 0, x equals -1. It also happens over here. So that's a multiplicity of 2. While the multiplicity of 1 is for x equals 0. Now we have x equals 3, and that happens twice, so that's a multiplicity of 2. And then this one is an x equals -4. It only happens once, so it's a multiplicity of 1. So here I see 1, 2, 3, 4 unique or distinct x values, so the answer is 4. And then you can fill in this table with 2x, x equals 0, multiplicity of 1. The x equals -1 has been done for you. X equals, let's see, x minus 3 creates x equals 3, and that does have a multiplicity of 2, so that would be a bounce. This one would be a bounce. A multiplicity of 1 is a cross. And then we have this last one, x equals -4. That comes from x plus 4, and that has a multiplicity of 1. So bonus content here. If I had to graph this, we would want to make sure that we are bouncing at x equals -1. And we're also bouncing at x equals -3. Oh, sorry, x equals +3. Right here, good. This is going to be x equals 0. And then our last x value out here would be at -4. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. And we add up the multiplicities, and we see that they add up to 6. So that is the degree. And you see that all these factors have a positive leading term. So that means it's a positive LC. So even degree, positive LC, arrows are going to go up, up. So we're going to make sure that we have an up arrow here and an up arrow here. And as I draw my function now, I need to make sure that I bounce at -1. And I'm also going to need to bounce at +3. So we're going to cross. We're going to bounce. We're going to cross and bounce. And that is the Unit 2 review. I'm going to end the recording, and actually students are coming in for period 1. So I really hope that these videos helped you get ready for the quiz. I'm going to try and use these videos for multiple years, so I won't really say when the quiz is supposed to be, like for your year, but if you are taking Algebra 2 in 2025, then that quiz is going to be on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So today's Friday, you have Friday, Monday, and all the weekend to get ready in class and out of class. So good luck studying for this one, and I'm available for extra help most days. Just make sure I know you're coming, and I will be there. All right. Good luck as you study.